И данная, эти русские революции должна будет...
Если немцы хотят не истребить войну, они ее получат.
La lucha armada es el único camino para la liberación.
Patria o muerte.
Les Américains se trompent en croyant qu'en bombardant le Nord, ils pourront gagner la guerre dans le Sud.
Il y en a qui demandent mais où se trouve l'impérialisme. L'impérialisme, regardez dans vos assiettes quand vous mangez. Les grains de...
Repressing people of color all over the world and on local level, the police, fascist police, repressing the white revolutionaries as well as the black.
And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back because this is lower, this is upper, this is the oppressed, this is the oppressed.
You asking me to confess to something?
Ayer estuvo el diablo aquí, huele a azufre todavía.
And the cheap labor taken out of these countries are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited.
You're listening to Revolutionary Lumpen Radio with me, your co-host and comrade, Shibby. And we've also got a special host of the show today. Do you want to introduce yourself for the comrades, Max?
Hey everybody, my name is Max. I'm hosting today's episode because I am part of the prisoner support team for Palestine Action. Palestine Action, if you're familiar at all with the show, you'll know, is the UK's leading anti-imperialist direct action network. We have been waging a 3-year struggle against the Israeli weapons trade and all that it represents. And what it represents is the pointy end of Western empire. Israeli drones, which are manufactured at 8 different sites in the UK. It used to be 10 sites, but Palestine Action has forced the closure of 2 of them, in no small part due to the efforts of people like your comrade Shibby. And I'm here to talk about how we can support the brave Palestine Action members who are currently behind bars. State repression. It's no surprise that state repression in the UK has gotten to the point where they are locking up Palestine Action, even though we've never hurt a soul, though we have successfully smashed up many a factory, which I hope to talk about too. But yeah, I mean, this episode, as Shibby can attest, was conceived of as I was supporting Shibby while he was inside. And I was hoping that we could talk a little about your experience, both as a Palestine Action and also as a Palestine Action prisoner.
Thank you so much for that introduction there, and thank you so much for the work that you do. It's a shame that it is truly like most things. Until these things happen to you, you don't realise how important it is. And that's certainly been my case when it comes to prison support, having been a prisoner now, which is what we're going to talk more about in this episode. And also on Max there, I'd like to say thank you for that help. Obviously, you know, because we spoke since then, like how much it means to me, and it was super crucial, and it made me feel like, although it was wrong for me to have been remanded and held in custody, it's good to know that I wasn't doing these things in isolation. It was for Palestine. It was against complicity in Britain with imperialism, colonialism, and you know, as a Marxist, as a communist, we talk about seizing the means of production. There's no productions better to be seized than the means of destruction. That is the means of production that produce weapons. I've always said that it was a privilege and an honour to serve Palestine Action in that capacity, and it's a damn shame that having done that, I've been roped into a conspiracy to cause criminal damage. But I also didn't want to squander that opportunity. I sincerely feel like I coped in prison better than most. And the reason for that was because I've read a lot of Marxist prisoner literature, and that is to say human beings who were Marxists, who were historical materialists. They broke down liberalism, they could work around it and come to correct conclusions within prison. And talking obviously Huey P. Newton, Ed Mead, you know, most of the Black Panthers.
George Jackson, of course.
Yeah, George.
Yeah. I mean, listen, for me, you know, there's so much incredible Marxist writing out there, but the one that I always most strongly relate to is Lumpen writing by people who are inside, and like the I was getting the same feeling, and I don't mean to like embarrass you, but like one of the reasons I'm so excited to be on this episode with you is because when I was reading your prison diaries, and I just want to make clear to our listeners today that like I was getting physical letters sent through the jail and then through the British Post to me from you, and I was reading it, and I was like, the amount of critical knowledge and like beautiful love you have for all of the people inside that you're dispensing in these diaries, I can't recommend them highly enough. And it makes me feel crazy to think that a person of your caliber and a brain of your caliber can be locked up by our state. It just makes everything feel like we have to smash it sooner. And another point I want to sort of feed off of is you were just talking about the importance of seizing the means of production, and the most important one being maybe the weapons industry. But one of the things that really jumped out from your diaries was the means of production inside, and how the prison industry is something that we as a movement need to make a priority about seizing, because private prisons in the UK are running amok. You talked so plangently about the overcrowded and just horrible conditions. I want to ask you, I want to sort of start at the beginning. You were arrested again for conspiracy to commit criminal damage against a Israeli weapons company. Is that right?
Yeah, a subsidiary.
And so what happened? They took you to the police station?
I literally got fucking woke up by armed police coming through a hotel door while I was fucking in bed, and I sleep naked. So I was like, let me put some clothes on. And he was like, go on. So I put some clothes on and that. And he was like, take me outside. He said, what's your name? I said, you're not getting my name, I'll give it in the police station. And he said, it doesn't make a difference where you give it in. And I said, if it doesn't make a difference, I'll give it in the police station. So basically what happened was this police officer didn't know my name for the whole time. I'm not going to give him intelligence on me so that he can go back to his fucking boss and then say, oh, look, I got his name. I got him to say this. I got him to say that. You know what I mean? And like they'll try and do with anything, and then they'll try and rope you into anything. So I never done it. But then this other busies come over and then said, you know, my real name and full name, and then said CID. So it's like CID's been on the phone to them, and then like they'll just come and fucking grab me in a fucking hotel because I've just been fucking nearby.
It's important to say to everybody that you were arrested with no evidence connecting you to any crime whatsoever. You just happened to be in the area, and that was enough for the British state to not just arrest you, but hold you for multiple weeks. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so what happened, yeah, it was basically end up in fucking custody. I talk about this in the diary, where it's what like the police cells like and the food conditions and that. I was eating a fucking lot. I was eating as much as possible because they frequently open the slots in the doors when you're in the cell, and like the light's pretty much always on and it's always light, so you can't really sleep in them cells. So whenever they open it up to like wake you up, because like they don't like you sleeping, I'd always ask for food. And so I was like having loads of hot chocolates and that.
It's so interesting because, to your listeners, I was once arrested under suspicion of committing criminal damage against a Israeli weapons company in the UK. And to my unending surprise, given my experience in US jails where I'm from, they really go out of their way to offer you hot chocolate and food anytime. Like I was offered hot cups of noodles and hot chocolate as much as I could drink, and my first instinct was to be like, no, I don't trust you guys. I don't want to like I've been trained to like refuse like any sort of pleasantry from these people because we know that it's attached to some stick that they're going to try and beat you with. But what I got from your prison diaries is you knew what was coming in jail. In actual prison, and on the off chance that you weren't getting out, these might be the last few hot chocolates you were getting for some time. And that turned out to be correct, right?
Yeah, so It's like they only give you them hot chocolates and that, so that if you act out in a way that they don't like, they can say, oh, what's wrong? We gave you food, we gave you drink, and then they'll hold up, because at the end of the day, so many things are to do with law, aren't they? Which means, like, if they don't do something correct, they're open to being sued. You know what I mean? So all these positive things are not really there to be positive. They're probably to look better on the international world stage compared to like other bourgeois dictatorships throughout Europe. But it's also to like stop people from getting angry and kicking doors and then like, you know, starting fights with staff as well. I always see that, you know what I mean? I expected to get out on bail because like I literally never done nothing. As I was eating all that food just because I was like half bulking, you know what I mean? I was going to the gym. So I was having the calories, and then like it was just like 12 hours gone by. I'm like, what the fuck and that? And then I goes to like this fucking chief constable who was talking about in the diaries, and he basically says, oh, I'm keeping you here for another 6 hours because they've just been arrested at this point. I think this is 12 hours in actually, or no, it was actually towards the end. They've just been arrested. So we're going to keep you here in case they say anything about you while they're being interviewed about, like, obviously what happened and that. Obviously, there'd be no comment anyway, so there's no need to keep me.
So I just want to make sure everyone, like, this is a really cool story. Like, what's happening, right, is like Palestine actionists were smashing up, like, and I want to, like, I want to, like, sort of make everyone understand. And when I say smashing up, I mean literally with hammers smashing an Israeli weapons company. And Shibby is being told as he's in jail that they have to wait until the comrades up on the roof finish getting arrested, finish smashing up the factory before they can even consider letting Shibby go, on the off chance that they might offer some incriminating evidence. So I can understand why it might be both frustrating to hear that you're being held for another 6 hours, but on the other hand, it must be fun to think about two dudes up on the roof with hammers in their hand going to town on a factory.
Yeah, obviously it's important to document all this, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like you can see the earliest people who ever done Palestine action go out, do similar things, and then just not even get arrested. You know what I mean? That's what it was like at one point. Or they'd get bail instantly, or sometimes they wouldn't even have bail after like throwing fucking bricks at a fucking weapon factory, shutting it down for a couple of days after camping on a roof. That's like loss of profit, innit? So this is what's happened over time. And Elberiv, like, they were scared to go to court and face everybody because of what could be said. And then they started doing conspiracy to cause criminal damage because you kind of got less defences when it comes down to like causing damage so that you can prevent injury or death of others. They're just trying new seedy things all the time to change, and you can, and like if you follow Pal Action, you see how the CPS has changed the course, and then you see actionists get arrested. You see some be remanded for extensive periods of time. Obviously, it is just pure fascism. It's the state, as in the police, the CPS, people gathering evidence so that these private fascist corporations can continue to incorporate itself in the state at a military level and even an ideological fucking colonial fucking level where Israel is just an extension of British and US imperialism anyway.
Right. I mean, I couldn't agree with that analysis.
So all these things, again, I didn't want to go off on a tangent, but like it's important to document that. That's why I say
totally.
it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important. One of the points you just made, I really want to underscore, which is that basically the British Criminal Prosecution Service, the CPS, is colluding and working to benefit a foreign state, Israel, a colonial, or you know, another way of putting this is we in the imperial core are being persecuted at the behest of the colonial project. And it's like, it's stark to think about because it wasn't just jail that you got. After 48 hours of being in the cop shop, they took you back into court and then told you that you were going to be remanded, right?
Yeah, that was a fucking shocker.
So you were expecting to be home. Yeah, I mean, it's so fucked up.
I remember it when the magistrates like went in the back room, and then like we went in this like cell room, we co-defendants, and then just waiting on the decision basically after hearing why we should be granted bail, why we shouldn't go to prison and be remanded. And like I was just pacing like what the fuck. Basically got remanded. That was a shocker. But again, brings me back to how I started. Was I could cope better than most, I think, because I've read these revolutionaries who have been in prison, and I sort of knew what to expect. And it is a lot better than the US, as you said earlier. The conditions are much better, but you know, that hunger and that ego, that individualism from liberalism is in the prisoners' minds. The insecurities, people in prison for years. Some people just think, what have I got to fucking lose, mate?
Can I ask you to talk about one of the things you write about in your diary, which I think is really interesting and also on point? When you were in the paddy wagon, when you were being when you had the opportunity to be like at mealtime or with the other prisoners, like, one, I guess, just roughly, what were other people that you're seeing locked up for? And two, like, how did they respond when they found out that you were in for political crimes?
You're just in a it's like what you think to be a converted horse transport van, but like it's got rooms for like humans in, and you just sit down.
And it sounds, I mean, that sounds funny, but it's also important to just like recognize that like a private corporation is making money off of your being transported as uncomfortably as possible.
I don't know whether it was because we were talking a little bit about politics or first, but like that got brought out by one of the lads who was in the paddy wagon because he got nicked with like
armed robbery.
Yeah, he was in there for armed robbery. And then so there was somebody else as well. Just like, so they just said their stories, what happened in that. And then like, well, like the police was chasing them for a few days. And in the end, they just like fucking gave themselves in because fucking everybody's house was being invaded that they knew. And then there was like, in the paddy wagon when we were talking about politics, we were saying, if we can't do the time, don't do the alleged crime. Free Palestine. So we were talking about it, and then like obviously I hadn't been on the roof, but people who were on the paddy wagon, and they were talking about what happened and why it targeted them. But like that site is actually very popular to locals, like people in Newcastle and that. Apparently it had a tank outside in its car park a few years back, before perhaps it was bought by Elba. And it's just a well-known place. But like whenever you're face to face with lads who just being like had to be grafters or scrappers and like fight, whenever you're talking to them type of lads, yeah, and you're just saying went on a weapons factory where they like kill innocent people and then make fortunes for billionaires to manipulate and control virtually every aspect of her life. We just went there and did it, shut it down, and all these other places have been shutting down. That's just like the sickest thing ever. Like nobody can say nothing to that, otherwise to be a coward, you know what I mean? I tell you what, my pad mate, I mean, bear in mind, when you're in jail, you've got a cell and you're always sharing it with like at least one person. But my pad mate, he was in there because his girlfriend stole his dog. He's got a fucking tattoo of his dog on his hand. So he's obviously went round to family members' houses and smashed all the windows in and like smashed the car's windows in and fucked it up with a machete in there. You know what I mean? That's like a domestic, but like that was the lad who was my pad mate, and like when I'm talking about Palestine action, he said, fuck. He said, look, at least you're in here for that. He said, I'm in here because I fucking flipped the lid, smashed fucking girlfriends, fucking families, fucking windows. And he said, and now I'm in here for years. And he was sincerely, genuinely, actually sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as abolitionists, we don't need to say like all state violence is completely unacceptable, and we need to free not just political prisoners but all prisoners. And it's like a man who loves his dog. It's like, it's crazy, right? It's like that man should definitely not be in jail. But I also just want to, like, in your diary, you write this incredible line, which is just like how people, like everyone you talk to in prison, and like I think it's important for maybe to clarify for your listeners what makes prisoners lumpen, right? I think you say in your diaries, lumpen is far more revolutionarily inclined than the conservative working class. And I think that's such a beautiful point. I just wanted you to like riff on that a little bit. I was just hoping that you could expand on this point a little bit, because I think it's both like fascinating, and I think it's really an excellent window into sort of explaining the relationship between, or the revolutionary potential of the poor, the despised, the imprisoned. Those who society truly discards.
Okay, certainly can do. First of all, I categorize a prisoner as lumpen proletariat because we class the proletariat as people who can sell their labor to a capitalist, and like we put people into different classes depending on their relation to the means of production, or the economy or capital. That is what determines somebody's class. If somebody is more affluent, you genuinely think of them as middle class. If somebody's poor as shit, then they might happen to be on universal credits and unemployed. That's ultimately like what Marxists go with. So prisoners are lumpen proletariat because they don't sell their labor to a capitalist, unlike the regular proletariat, the working class. But this is what I learned, there's the pig class as well, which is actually workers within prisons who work for like £1.70 a day. And some of the jobs can even include, I saw when I done the careers course, which is a few maths and English tests, I saw that you can have a job for the Ministry of Defence with the camouflage nets. Can you imagine me doing that? No way.
I mean, on the other hand, maybe you could talk about just like how, if you are a smoker, for instance, you start 20 days in the hole is one of the things you mentioned, I think, in the fourth diary.
I'll just kind of expand more on like the pig class, because that orients around like a work, and that work gives people more money and they can do more with that because they can convert material commodities into like social use value. So that would be the use to smoke a fucking vape, for example. And it's essentially like a legal drug in there. It is essentially just a legal drug that you can buy in prison. And when I went into prison, they ask you if you want a smoker, if you're a smoker, or you want like a tea and coffee pack. So I was like, I'll take a fucking smoker's pack. Let's fucking go. It turned out it was a vape with 3 cartridges that you can put on. And you cannot buy this vape outside, but I think it's the best one ever. Like, it genuinely is super smooth and so convenient with the cartridges. But you cannot buy them outside because this private company has got a monopoly on this whole vape system. You thought I was going to talk about like lower level, small selling vapes. I will, because people are selling the dinner for a vape cartridge. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But then you've got these absolute like monopoly capitalists who are selling the vapes to the entire prison industrial fucking complex in Britain for no other reason than the government probably banned smoking. They thought, we need to do the prisons. Then fucking these pens come around.
I mean, we live in a country, right? We live in a country where COVID lockdowns mean a massive wealth transfer from the working poor to the billionaire friends of Tory politicians. And this is not like, that's not an exaggeration. With that level of usury and avarice on the part of politicians, it's easy to imagine the lobbying efforts of this vape company to be like, make an exception to this no smoking rule in all HMPs and give us the exclusive rights. We'll give you a kickback. We'll give you a cut. The same thing with the fake PPE equipment. You can imagine these same vape companies like wanting to make more things illegal in this country so they have more prisoners to profit off of and sell more vapes to. You know, it's like the private prison industry every day comes up with a new way, a new reason for us to destroy it as soon as possible. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Amen, absolutely correct, comrade. And talk about trickle-down economy. Never mind the wealth flipping up. The trickle-down economy looks like this. So you've got these pig workers who are earning more. They can obviously buy a lot more vapes, and these cartridges are only £1. And like, even if you're a heavy smoker, they can last you a day. You know what I mean? If you take the piss, then you're getting half of one. But like, it's like £1, and so you work it out as like £7 a week. And if you're a smoker, that's you smoking. So anyway, I come into prison, get a vape pack. That was fucking like £12 something. That comes out automatically. Like, I never even needed money to have that. Because in prison, you get 50p a day, and you can do that to put towards a canteen. It's no good, 50p a day. It's scandalous. You cannot get enough money quick enough to buy anything of any use. So, you know what I mean?
And so can I just ask a practical question? Like, your first day in, and this is something anybody can do. Your first day in, the first day they said that you were you were issued a prison number. I transferred you £25, just so you would have some money for the canteen or the phone. How long did it take that money to get there? Like, within hours of your lawyer saying you've been remanded, I had put this money in the account. And I was just wondering how long it took to get to you.
I mean, from my memory, I don't think I had money for like at least the first week. Like, I know that I saw the money in my canteen on the day that I got that letter, but I didn't get any letters for like at least a week first because nobody knew my prison number.
Yeah, it was fucked. It was like truly Kafka-esque the way they can conveniently lose vital information about you.
Thanks so much. Like, I put some of that onto the phone because the phone cost a fortune to phone people. BT again. They don't
another company profiteering off of.
They do not need to have phones in anybody's houses. Like, they're making enough money off prison phone calls alone to sustain a fucking billion fucking pound enterprise. Let me fucking tell you, the money they must fucking make of people. There's people in there who spend like hundreds of pounds, you know what I mean, just on like fucking calls. So I got a few minutes with the money you sent me. I think I got some mackerel because there was no protein about, and again, I was trying to bulk as well.
And you're also like fighting legitimate, like horrific sounding sickness. They're not like, when was how long had you been in jail before they gave you your first change of clothes?
Oh, it was like I was literally on the verge of hunger strike. Like, I'd already planned it out. I'd already seen 2 out of 3 people. You know what I mean? And like the last person was the CO of the wing, because I'd asked fucking 2 screws in there. They palmed me off. One of them said, "Oh, I've just fucking come upstairs," and it's like, fucking do your job. And then like, so this CO, I went to see him, and then he palmed me off to somebody else, right? And because he palmed me off, on me fucking like me hunger strike demands, I was gonna like name these people so that they knew themselves they had the opportunity to prevent this. Do you know what I mean? And he knew because he was the boss. When I come in, he had the opportunity to prevent this. So basically, like, he pointed me to the right fucking man in the end. But it literally took me, again, I'm sure it was at least a week, 8-9 days. And I was like in the same clothes this whole time, sweaty socks and that.
Yeah, it's like, I think, Shibby, I want you to answer this question again, but pretend like your listeners haven't read the diaries. Like, you get in on the first day wearing like this same pair of pants and the same shirt. How long you can't wash the clothes because then you have nothing to wear, and you don't have a change of clothes. So you're just like, how long does it take before you start feeling really sick?
I think I got to change of clothes on like day 9 or something.
Oh my God. And that's common, right? That's for every prisoner. That was for like each of the 14 people who came in with you that day, right?
Yeah, if you didn't know you were going to get arrested and have a bag of clothes with you, you've got what you got on you, yeah. I already had a prison jumper on me when I got nicked. Like, I just had one from when I'd been nicked previously, but that was only in a jail, not a prison. And then I had like a pair of pants that I couldn't wear because there was black patches on it. So you don't let you wear anything that's black, even though they let some people wear black. And then, so I got them, took off my jail pants, and I only had the prison jumper because my t-shirt was black. So I only had this prison jumper, my fucking boxies, my pair of socks, and these prison pants, and it was scorching. It's hot, you know what I mean? It's dead hot. We're on the top fucking floor, like the 3rd fucking level of this fucking E-wing. So it's so hot, and it was like that for about 7, 8. I remember I got sick on the day that I got the clothes, because I remember I started sweating profusely. The very first day I get me fresh clothes, I'm sweating in them because I'm sick.
You're coughing up blood at a certain point.
Oh yeah, I was coughing up blood. I spewed it. Like, I've never been sick like that. But I mean, I was feeling sorry for myself, you know. My padmate got it as well after me, and he was sick for like 3 days, but like only about 30% of what I was. Like, I was like, there was snot constantly coming out my nose, and like I had no energy, and like so you get fed 11:30ish and like 4:30ish. So you just go down, you put cell door opens, you go down, get your fucking dinner on your plate, go straight back to your cell door closed. But like, obviously nobody tells you nothing. So there's like somebody that you can see when you're going to get your dinner, and like they're not there sometimes, and you can get tablets off them if you like prescribe to them. If not, I could only get paracetamol. So just paracetamol is going to do fuck all for a cold. But like, when I'm asking for fucking help, well, basically me fucking padmate pressed the fucking emergency buzzer on a fucking cell. He risked getting knocked down to basic so he could spend less, and risking getting his telly took off him, pressing that buzzer to try and get me help in that. That's how fucking thick I was, you know. And then in the end, they just said you had to see the fucking nurse 12:30 the next day. And it was like, oh, look, I swear to God, just getting that paracetamol, I was so sick. But Padmate said that he got sick in a similar way the first time he was in, and he never had it again, even though he did end up getting it again, actually.
It's like, so like, I mean, like, this is really important.
You're just sweating. You're just in dirty clothes. Bed sheets fucking soggy and that. I mean, my bed sheet was fucking dirty and that because I had a fucking wet dream and that. You know what I mean? Man's hormones were all over the place, and I couldn't even clean that shit.
I think this is really important. Like, testimony or evidence. Like, one of the things I love about your show is how you always get these incredible details out. It's like, sure, we can say that prison, we know, right, from data, or it's like from like from abstracts, that UK prison, privately run, are overcrowded, disease-ridden hellholes. But like, until you actually hear about the first 9 days from someone as articulate as you, it doesn't really click for everybody. And that's like, I think it's really important to like take a minute and think about not just you, but like there are 9 others right now in UK jails who have taken action again. UK prisons who have been sentenced or are awaiting trial, who languishing behind bars in similar ways simply for taking action against the apartheid settler colony. It's one struggles for words to describe how fucked up the situation is. And I just want to take a minute to appreciate your saying that.
You always find the words. You do a phenomenal job of describing everything. And again, that's why I'd love to thank you again, because the listeners should know that you were actually willing to help out the podcast at some point. So that would have been such a blessing for me to be able to continue this kind of work and inquiry in people's lives. But also, it would have been better in so many ways as well. So I've always been fond of the idea of a Marxist prison culture, even though I've never heard it said. I don't know if anybody's ever said it, but I've definitely felt it, and I do increasingly feel it the more I read from Marxist prisoners and the more I reflect on what happened and talk to others. I also know that other people's conclusions about the functions of the prison industrial complex can be added to a more finely tuned science. It's something that we can and should all build on to better identify the forces that oppress us. The way I see Marxist consciousness is God, describing a fucking consciousness. It's like a fiber, right? And the more people write, the more people do practice, the more people experience things, the more Marxists, specifically historical materialists who are right enough from a liberal perspective to come from conclusions that would benefit the bourgeoisie, but only conclusions that are truthful so that they can be better used by people. I feel like all this theory that we have in the past, there's certain strands, and there was enough of it, and it was that frequent that it could contract and expand, and it was like a muscle. Do you know what I mean? And it worked, and it got things done because there was so much physical elements of it. And the theory was the fiber of it, the sharing of socialist experience and revolutionary experiences was the true fiber of Marxist struggle in that. But we don't have any of that today. So prison experience has told me how important it is to build on a Marxist prison culture, to build on this strand of networks of different fibers that we can attach all around the planet and then get things done. It's definitely important for all Marxist prisoners or anti-imperialist prisoners, however you want to say it. It's it's always important to be a guerrilla intellectual. So it's that's why you need a bit of personality as well, because you got to speak to so many different types of people. You got to believe in yourself, or why would anybody believe in you if you're not even that confident to just speak to somebody as if they're just a person, which is what they are. And often the problem is they're not seen as just a person, they're seen as this image of a criminal, nasty, this and that. So it's important that Marxists who do go to prison, which I attempted at the time, is to become a guerrilla intellectual. Again, everybody I spoke to just loved what Palestine Action did, because it's true guerrilla anti-imperialist work that has a material difference in the world. So it's also important, though, to talk more with the outside so that we can psychologically and materially support our prisoner comrades so that they can do the practice of being a member of the prisoner class. They've got no choice about being a prisoner class, but if they're going to practice it, we should at least comfort them and support them psychologically, because it's literally the lowest thing that the state can get away with effectively.
No, I mean, I think you just made so many good points.
Marxist or anti-imperialist prisoners should be guerrilla intellectuals, essentially, to radicalize other prisoners inside and get the support for prisoners outside. Nobody can come to better conclusions on the prison industrial complex than dozens or hundreds or thousands of Marxist prisoners building on a stream of consciousness and culture that could outlive every last one of us.
I just want to say that that's a beautiful thing. And like, it's not just, it's like foundations have already been laid, right? From Attica to the Soledad brothers, to slave revolts, right? Like these, like like you can find these ideas in the Black Jacobins and in the Panther writings. I think it's, I think this is a really fascinating point.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to just literally say things how they are, because so many people are just fed bullshit through liberalism and through the daily life, like who to hate, what to do, what to not do. We just need the truth, and then more like, why are we told who we should hate, who we shouldn't hate, why don't we do these things? If, like, for example, the importance of like educating like prisoners, or like not educating them, but like speaking to prisoners, is because like a lot of people who commit crimes and that habitually, I mean, they're just not very well educated. And like for the first time in my life, and I was genuinely shocked at this, when I was getting the induction in prison, they were saying, look guys, this is it. If you need any help reading it, don't be shy. There's plenty of lads in here who can't like read. And I was like, what? It was like the first time in my life I'd come across a situation where like somebody couldn't fucking read. I mean, that's the prisons for you. It's like, what good is a person who can't read and write to the dole or to a capitalist? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are the fucking options that these people got? Back to a Marxist culture, though, I do feel like it's important, and I think we should talk more or come to like some succinct way in which we can encourage others to network with our political prisoners.
Through the Palestine Action website and all of our socials, our Linktree, there are direct ways you can email prisoners and connect with specific prisoners, or start a basic pen pal relationship. Word fielding and passing on literally dozens of emails a day right now. We're seeing an incredible outpouring of support from solidarity activists and comrades all around the world. And I just want to say that this is as important of Palestine Action work as the sort of glorious anti-imperialist work that makes all the headlines. And we're nothing if we're not supporting our brave and vulnerable actionists who are inside.
Yeah, truly undeniable. So what about people who desperately do want to start messaging, but they're a little bit shy, they've got writer's block? What do you think that they could possibly start off with?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah. I mean, first of all, let me just put it this way. The private prison email company that charges me 10p a line, like, I mean, you don't need to be verbose in these letters. You could just introduce yourself, tell them your name, tell them where you're from, and tell them that you're with them. And that's enough, right? Like, people are under no obligation to be eloquent or anything, but like, just like, if you are available and have some time, you can really brighten someone's day. You can tell them about your day. You can tell them about what got you into Palestine, what got you into anti-imperialist struggle, and tell them why what they're doing is inspiring, because it's truly the most cutting edge, inspiring anti-imperialist action happening in the core, I believe. I think Israel's worldwide role in repression, from the U.S.-Mexico border to the massacring of leftist Colombian students with Israeli-made drones, to the drone regime executed against the Kashmiri people by the Modi regime. All of this would not be possible if it weren't for Israeli drones being manufactured in the UK. So when you take action, when you cost that company money, you're doing the best thing you can, like the most brave thing being done right now. These people, it cannot be overstated how fucking sick Palestine actionists are and how important the work is, and what an incredible example and what possibility and consciousness expanding actions these people are taking. And I think the little things we can do, like throw a few quid into their canteen, that's that accent shit that rears its head every once in a while. I'm sure you have the same thing where every once in a while you're making a really good point, but you say the in my case very American, in your case very Liverpoolian thing, and people just look at you like, what the fuck are you saying? Anyway, through the Palestine Action website, you can contribute directly to the prison support funds and get some money and for phone time and the canteen for the 9 people currently locked up. You can read more about their stories and what they've been convicted of. We obviously will continue to raise awareness in all ways we can through our social media. So any way you check in with us normally is a way that you can find out how to directly support the prisoners.
Cool. I'll share a link on the podcast. Just to say, obviously I was in there, like I said, I don't think I got nothing for at least a week. I was institutionalized at that point. It didn't take me long to just accept that I was a fucking hamster in a cage, and I figured out how to spin around my wheel all day without thinking. Before long, that's why it took 9 or something days to start writing letters. It might have took more, just because I was getting my burdens at first. You know what I mean? I was getting to know my pad mates. Just heard that he just smashed a load of shit up with machetes and that. I was trying to fucking make sure that we were cool, as you can imagine.
I mean, it sounds heavy, but that's not the worst scenario of a reason to completely blow your lid.
When the letters started coming, I was obviously made up. Again, just a short note saying, hey, you're not alone, keep your head up, or something I'd say, rather than thank you. Because it could be said that is intent or whatever. So a day where you had a letter versus a day that you never had a letter would be a good day.
Absolutely. And I mean, we still have some people who were arrested the same day Shibby was, who are still in Durham prison. You know, it's they're a long way from home. So again, we can get you in direct touch with them and really lighten the load somewhat for them. As Shibby said, I think one thing we constantly hear is how important these letters are.
When we were in jail, he was the most optimistic that would get bail, and I was just I wouldn't even bother thinking about it, just because I expected to be in there for years, just because I was on remand, and these cases can take years. But this person was so determined that they were going to get bail, and we were going to get bail and get out. And then I was in court today, and I was looking at them and they were still on the inside. It was a sad sight. And yeah, we should definitely support them with some letters. Again, just those words, just showing them that they're not alone. It's building them fibers to make ourselves more powerful, because we know what we need to do.
Can I tell a quick story? It's a tangent and we might just cut it, but I was living in Louisiana and there was a brutal police shooting of an unarmed black man in Baton Rouge, and we were blocking the highway. It was a shut it down protest. We were kettled. There was a mass arrest situation. And it was just my luck. I ran into a legitimate police psychopath who later, this is not an exaggeration, he later killed someone and was incarcerated himself. An actual nightmare of a Louisiana state trooper beat the living shit out of me at this protest. And so while all my friends were going to jail and getting normally processed and stuff, I was getting my head stitched back together. And then after my head, I got after I got a hospital, I went into the hospital in handcuffs, and after they released me, I got a CAT scan and stitches and shit in handcuffs. And then they took me to the jail 15 hours later, Like, it just like took me a while to get all sorted out, you know? And my friends who had also gotten arrested, but earlier, they had all been like fingerprinted and like given like barcode where like they would scan and like let everyone know where they were, and like they were in the system, you know what I mean? Like someone knew that they were there. But because I had been to the hospital, this is also like I was like concussed, and so I wasn't really thinking straight at the time. But like I remember, like I can still remember spinning out and like getting like really, really stressed out, and like the anxiety just sort of like doubling down on itself, because like everyone else was like in the system and like knew when they were like gonna have a hearing. It's just like, well, what if they don't give me like my wristband until tomorrow morning, and like I miss court, and then I'm here for another day? Oh, I can handle that. I could handle another day. That's no problem. But what if it's just like the whole weekend? Yeah. No, I mean, I can handle a whole weekend, no problem. Like, but what if they actually like forget about me?
No one could forget about you.
You know, like what if they just like never, like ever, like you know, like people have been lost in Louisiana prisons before. That's like not an unheard of thing. Like it's like you start to tell yourself crazy stories, and it's like it feels sort of like a form of torture. It feel like torture, and it's like we don't know exactly when we're gonna get all these people who are inside right now. Some of them don't know when they're gonna get out.
Yeah.
And it's really tough on them. But we do know how to reach them all. We do know what their numbers are, and we can contact them and brighten their day a little. So like the point of the story is like it's impossible to overstate how important connection with the outside is when you're locked up. And if you're like so inclined, you can really make a big difference in people's day.
Yeah, definitely. There's a fucked up story, sorry, that happened to you. It was obviously the striking point
it was
about
wild.
Not knowing when they're getting out. And so many people again are remanded, and you just do not know when they'll be out, like at all. Do you know what I mean? And they're just in jail, and you don't know.
And you start playing these terrible games with yourself, like will I still be the same person if I'm here for another 3 weeks? Yeah, I'll still be the same cool guy I was 3 weeks ago. It'll be fine. Like it'll take me a few while to get my groove back, but I'll be fine. But like, what if it's 3 months? Oh, 3 months. Damn. It might be really hard.
Where's me? It was 2 years. I was like, look, I'm expected to be here for years, but I was like, but if it was fucking longer than 2 years now, I'm gonna be in a fucking bad way. Do you know what I mean? That was my threshold. If there's any pigs and bacon listening now and they're gonna fucking give me longer just because I've said that, I'll fucking haunt you.
Well, we're not gonna let that happen. We'll go underground, but that's a promise. The thing about your listeners is I'm sure they like also know all this shit already too, and are just like sitting there with their fists raised and have already emailed. So like in many ways, I think it's just nice to be able to come to a place and talk about this shit in a real way and be on the exact same fucking page with someone. I mean, listen, this is really good fucking content, and I was talking with the editor of Mondo Weiss, whose name is Phil Weiss, which is just like quick. I don't know if you know this, is like an American version of Electronic Intifada.
Yeah.
I was talking to him about maybe publishing parts of your diary, and they're extremely interested. So I don't know, like, if you're interested in that, but they have like an enormous reach. And it would be an interesting thing, and I think it would like be a good article for us to get placed. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, that would be freaking awesome. Yeah, I'd love to hear some positive responses from that.
Great.
Okay, everybody, we're going to wrap up the episode there. Thank you very much for listening. Of course, click the link in the show notes so that you can email our Palestine Action prisoners and start building this culture so that it becomes as normal as protests and marching. Also, if you want to read the prison diaries, you can find them on Patreon, simply $1 a month. But we're also going to be releasing them for free once they get scanned. And also, it sounds like they'll be in a magazine where they'll be distributed as well. But for more bonus content to support me and my revolutionary life, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/lumpenpodcast. Where can people find you, Max?
I mean, I just would say follow Palestine Action on Instagram, Twitter. I'm part of the media team. Like, you'll see our posts. Our website is updated all the time. And it's an important time to support Palestine Action. We have never had this level of state repression. We've never had this many people in jail before. I think if you're able to support us now, now is the time. And please don't be shy. We're always happy to hear from you, no matter where you are.
Workers and lumpen of the world, unite.
I'll be that Liverpool narrator, social commentator, socially commentating. What I say is verbatim, verbal stipulator, oral illustrator, orally illustrating what needs stipulating. Drugs rule everything around me, thugs making money. My man is ill, yo. Pushers on my block, shotting rocks, this is real, yo. Bitches sucking cocks for them rocks, yeah, they real low. Prozzies on the corner with the fucking high heels on. Pick 'em up, drop 'em off, yeah, they ride real strong. Crack addicts looking for other addicts to steal from. Walking around wondering where they get their next meal from. Coke heads on the reg, sniffing up their wages. Dealers on speed dial, sucking all their papers. Still on the same number that they've had for fucking ages. SIM card so old, the logo's fucking faded. But turn it over and you see the gold nugget, reflecting off the light that shines down above it. Unregistered chip, you gotta love it. Pay as you go, so the feds don't bug it. Twitter for the streets, if you want tweets. 11 little digits and the blower's all you need. Tell me what's your poison, they got everything from weed up to methamphetamine. Everybody follow me and join up to their anti-social network. Database of smack, coke and crack smoking experts. Vowed they go out of business, they no longer get work. So anybody trying to fuck with it's gonna get hurt. Lyrical narrator, social commentator, socially commentating. What I say is verbatim, verbal stipulator, oral illustrator, orally illustrating what they stipulating. Are you sitting comfortably? Well, put your seatbelts on, cause you're in for a harrowing ride. Cause this is ill manners where dark shit goes on at night. I am the narrator, the voice that guides the blind, following up with your ears but your mind, and allow me to take you back and forth through time to explain the significance of things you may think insignificant now, but won't further down the line.
Prisoner GF 9093, Kirby Cropper. 1 Camel Mac. 1 forest green shirt. 1 pair of black jeans. 1 pair of black Chelsea boots. 1 mini disc player, 6 discs. 1 Nokia mobile phone. 3 up with the jury. Just sign there for me, please.